Fall 2024 and National Convention of SAF, the Society of American Foresters. National is always held in the fall, when I'm usually teaching, so I can rarely attend. However, this fall I'm on sabbatical leave, and this year National was in Colorado, close enough to drive. So, road trip with the trailer this time. Northbound, we took the New Mexico route, passing through Hatch, legendary for Sparky's, a diner with more kitsch inside and out than most any other place in America. No time for a meal at Sparky's on this trip, but we've lunched here many times in the past, including sitting with the Colonel, and noticed the sign, Carpe Diem Mañana, classic Sparky's. First camp was up Socorro Way, along the banks of the Rio Grande. Kind of low flow for the river here, but this is the Bosque del Apache Wildlife Refuge, which during winter months is home to teeming masses of cranes and geese, looking something like this. September was too early in the season for waterfowl on this trip, so we settled for the usual primo sunset and equally nice sunrise the next day. Continuing north, we passed Albuquerque and Santa Fe, though lunch was just outside of Santa Fe at the San Isidro Church, built in the mid-1800s. Then more north into the Taos volcanic field, with wide-open horizons in all directions. Camp was to be at Great Sand Dunes National Park, and as we got closer, the big dunes started coming into view. Hard to fathom the size of this dune, but consider the numbers. 30 square miles in area, 750 feet tall, and just over a cubic mile of sand. Camp that night got us another sunset and a sunrise. First time ever for us at Great Sand Dunes National Park, so we spent a full day here. It's totally permissible to walk out to the dune and even onto it. Footprints are erased every night by the relentless winds. Climb as high as you're able, all the way to the top if time permits, but caution, it's slow walking on the dune. A person can feel mighty small in the middle of this dune, but toboggan rides and sandboarding are favorite activities. Off the sand, trees can and do grow here, including granddaddy ponderosa pines. From Geology 101, 3 things are needed for sand dunes to form: sand, winds strong enough to carry sand, and a barrier to slow the winds so that the sand drops back down to the ground. This video shows a time-lapse model of the formation of this dune. This oblique aerial view is looking north. The basin, at 7,500 feet elevation, is bounded on the east by the Sangre de Cristos, peaking out at 13.6. Throughout the late ice ages, a glacial lake comes and goes, accumulating sand during high stands and letting it fly during low stands. A proto-dune forms. By early to mid-Holocene, several thousand years ago, the last big lake forms and then dries up. Persistent strong winds from the west pick up newly exposed sand and blow it eastward. But equally persistent sinking air from the Sangres surges downslope, countering the westerlies, thereby dropping the airborne sand into the giant dunes seen today. There you have it, the origin and evolution of a truly great dune. The land acknowledgement statement by the National Park was this elegant wooden plaque showing no less than 20 indigenous entities that call this region home since time immemorial. After the dunes, we continued on, reaching the boundary between the Rocky Mountains and the Great Plains at Colorado Springs, home to the Air Force Academy. Continuing north up the Colorado Front Range, we reached our destination, Fort Collins, where we set up camp in the front yard of longtime friends, the Browns. This would be home for the week, including languid moments of reading amongst napping dogs, plus tree-framed sunrises as well as moonrises. Pete is self-employed in dendrochronology and has this collection of fire-scarred sections in his home office. A hall of fame of sorts, or, even better, a wall of flame. Nice. National Convention has many activities to partake in. General plenary sessions are attended by everyone. Special sessions, like this one with the Chief of the U.S. Forest Service on the right, are valuable opportunities to hear about forest policy at the highest level. The exhibit hall has many booths, like this one from Philmont Scout Ranch. Mary coordinates the visiting forester program there, which I did several years ago. I hosted a breakfast at Waffle House, a favorite diner photo place of mine. An auction raises funds for SAF programs. and my contribution to the auction was a Sonoran Desert breakfast package. I even bid on this sweet wooden inlay cribbage board, adding even more dollars to the cause. The highlight item of the auction was the sculpture carved with a chainsaw during the convention and sold off on the last day. Above all else, convention fosters friendships, new and old, with foresters from across the country, like Bob here from the Cradle of Forestry in North Carolina. And National Convention has field trips. We took one with the Browns into Rocky Mountain National Park. The drive up saw aspens in fall colors as well as stands of recently dead conifers, probably bark beetle. The road tops out at 11,500 feet, and a trail from there reaches the very top at just over 12,000 feet. The drive back has a view of Long's Peak, one of the 14,000-foot peaks of the Rockies. Many thanks to Peter, Zyla, and Emmett for hosting us in Fort Collins and showing us the area. Another convention field trip was to see urban trees, notably an incredible stand of mature American elms on the campus of Colorado State University. This stand is called the Oval, and these trees range in age from 100 to 140 years old, which means they predate and therefore survived the scourge of the 1900s, the Dutch elm disease. These trees are truly magnificent, super lovely walking amongst them and enjoying their perfect shade on a warm afternoon. Dutch elm disease wiped out most of the country's elms, one of the great ecological catastrophes in American history. Nothing funny about that, but still, cartoons exist about Dutch elm disease. I spoke on this trip about the national perspective of the American elm. See the link below to a video of mine on the elm, derived from visiting the elms in Central Park of New York City. And plan a visit for yourself to the American elms of the Oval of CSU, a deeply moving experience. After the convention, we hitched up the trailer and headed home. The Utah Four Corners route this time. I-70 crosses over the Rockies, a crown jewel stretch of the interstate system. Bison grazing along the freeway? Yep. And fall colors up and down the grade. Never a dull moment on I-70. We camped near Colorado Canyon National Monument, another new park for us. This park is like the Grand Canyon, only 10,000 times smaller. Nice vistas of canyons and hoodoos, it's well worth the stop. Moving on, we passed up Arches, no time for them on this trip, and reached Mesa Verde for camp. We've been to Mesa Verde before, but 30 years ago, so we were due for a new visit. The drive up netted a nice sunrise before reaching Chapin Mesa, the site of extraordinary dwellings of the past, nestled into natural alcoves in the cliffs. Ranger-led hikes to the dwellings require reservations, but Cliff Palace and Spruce Tree House have overlooks that are open to all, no reservations necessary. Both of these pueblos are breathtaking from their vista points. Go see these pueblos for yourself if you've not yet done so. On the way back down, we stopped to check off another entry on my fire lookout list. The Mesa Verde Lookout is a classic. As at Great Sands, the land acknowledgement statement at Mesa Verde is comprehensive, and a statue out front of the visitor center is quite dramatic. Mesa Verde, an essential destination. Moving on, Four Corners really is a thing, a chance to stand in 4 states at once, with a nice patch. Staying focused towards the south, we passed up Canyon de Chelly, Hubble Trading Post, and Petrified Forest, all parks we visited before and recently. Petrified, by the way, means rockified trees, i.e. no longer wood. It doesn't mean that the trees are scared of anything. Camp that night was outside of Cholo, Arizona, a beautiful park managed by multiple agencies. When the air is still, the lake gives a stunning reflection, especially at sunset. Tennessee Tuxedo was either road-weary by this time or relieved to be back in Arizona, so she went full sploot, a position that has its own patch and other merch. Yet another great trip for us. We were very fortunate to have 2 weeks open to travel this way, and the Four Corners states are especially beautiful during the fall. Thanks to Irene for trip planning and logistics, for mastering trailer life, and for sharing a passion to visit the parks and enjoy sunsets.